All right, Drew. No headset?
Hey,
no nothing?
I'm just talking to one of our fans out there.
I have to sincerely apologize for whatever the hell's happening tonight because we're here live only on YouTube, which is where we need to end up anyway, eventually.
Yeah, maybe this will start something. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I didn't think it'd be tonight.
Maybe it'll also force Kyle Albritton to get a YouTube account and log in so he can comment.
It is 2024. How do you not have a YouTube account?
Oh, man. So I will be the Kyle Albritton fact talker for this episode, unfortunately.
You go make a damn account, just log in with Google, we're not. It's not that hard. Is all I'm saying.
Mr. Albritton is saying Georgia Tech put a virus on your computer.
I mean, yeah, we got obviously a lot to get into today. I'm not addressing those unless you create an account. And all I'm gonna say is, for Florida fans, it's been since Thanksgiving weekend since their teams played a game.
That's an interesting.
So
holy moly!
Yeah. So I mean, I understand.
He's waited a little longer.
They're bored. They've had nothing going on for a long time.
Yeah.
They're irrelevant.
Oof.
And have been.
Oof.
They haven't beat Florida State since 2021.
Why do I feel like he's in the process of making an account just so he can reply right now?
Make an account because we're
bullying
not
him into making an account.
We're not addressing it. I don't know. Okay, so here's your list of people who have no room to talk shit, right? It's anybody that Florida State played last year, which includes you.
Go Tigers.
LSU fans, Florida fans, Miami fans, and any other ACC fan. Everybody outside of that, unfortunately, has a ground to stand on, especially Georgia Tech fans.
The whole state of Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia fans, Alabama fans, Texas fans, Michigan fans, like college football fans outside of whoever we played last year.
I don't know if Michigan fans have anything to say.
Michigan fans should probably shut up for a while.
Yes.
Michigan fans should probably.
They got away with a lot last year.
Yeah, and I think it's just that they're going to bring the hammer down on Michigan more and more and more. Going to be weird without the chat tonight, but maybe we'll try to keep this episode a little short so I'll save it, post it to Facebook, and we'll do it like that.
It's not the first one we've quote unquote pre-recorded and sent out to Facebook, and that one blew up. So
yeah,
everyone who's paying attention, please like, share, follow.
I guess tell your friends.
Yes, tell your friends we're on YouTube.
I'm hoping it's just technical difficulties. That's J-Buck.
That's very small. I can't read that.
Oh no! Wow, I don't like the YouTube chat. Oh my goodness. I think it's Jordan Gibbs says we all have room to talk, bro. It's football. You lose, you get shit on. Nah, you don't. You don't though. You don't. Miami has not beat Florida State since COVID.
Wow.
So, I mean, until that happens, you can. I mean, obviously, a little bit of shit talk, a little bit of be a little rough. You can say something, but you can't keep punching down. Eventually, you got to move on.
I just the crazy stat that I saw the other day. It said Florida State under Mike Norvell 2-9 without Jordan Travis as a starter, 29-9 with Jordan Travis as a starter.
Well, remember that 2020 was the COVID year. That was his first season. Yeah, I think that's skewed. I don't think that's a fair stat. I mean,
that's also probably just picking at whatever they can pick at this point. But still,
yeah,
it's a crazy, to me, that spoke more about Jordan Travis than it did less about Mike Norvell.
Well, I mean, if you guys want my full takes, I have a podcast for that. Know It All podcast. I've already been down this whole spiel. Wednesday is what we've always called on the Right On, like when we did the Right On Sports show. Like Wednesday is Move Forward Day.
Yeah.
So yesterday was the last day of like, okay, that sucked, but you're 0-1 now, and you're far from out of it. So Florida State still has a chance. Will they? I don't know. We'll talk about that today because we're making picks today for the first time this season.
Exciting.
We have 10 games across the college football landscape to pick from today. So.
We both keep looking up there for the comments, and it's just like
I know, man.
Nothing.
I'm used to Facebook.
Nada.
And just golly.
Hey, it is what it is.
So we're gonna do a little 20 questions to open this. I guess we'll just do 2 of these so that we can keep this episode short. And then we're gonna move into AFC picks. I've got my picks already written in there. That way, if you see it, it's not confusing. And then we're gonna go into our college football picks for this weekend. So,
all right, well, let's rock and roll. You got a question tuned up, or you want me to go ahead and roll with it?
I would say, here you go. Let's say who is your hero? So, like, let's give a personal and a professional. Like, who would be your heroes?
Professional, I've always stayed true with Drew Brees. He's always been like the guy that I've always looked up to because on and off the field, he's always been that guy. Like I have 2 jerseys of his. I have a signed football of his. I have a picture of him holding up one of his kids, Braylon, after the Super Bowl, the one with the kid with his headphones on, still have the ratchet. So he's just holding them up. I love Drew Brees, and it gave me hope as a undersized kid playing quarterback, and it gave me hope that I was like, okay, if Drew Brees can do it, there's a guy who's under 6 foot that is a starting quarterback in the NFL. And it didn't work out for me, but at the time, I didn't feel like I was pissing my life away trying to play football. And I love football still to this day. Obviously, I wouldn't be talking sports about it, talking about sports, talking about football on a random Wednesday in August.
Right.
So
the final Wednesday of August.
Yes, the final. Fortunately, because now we have football season. But yeah, professionally, it's definitely going to be Drew Brees. Always looked up to him on and off the field because whenever he came down to talking about him off the field, whenever he came down to New Orleans in 2006, it was right after Hurricane Katrina, and he was hands-on in the rebuild of New Orleans, not just from, oh, I'm coming here to play football. He was, oh, this is a broken city. I'm here to fix it. I'm here to do it on the field and off the field, and they are. The city of New Orleans is forever indebted to Drew and his wife. Personally, I'm gonna go with my wife because she does so much. How long have we been live?
About 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
8 minutes. We're just now into our questions. We're only doing a few of them though, so.
I'm gonna say my wife because she does literally everything. If you know me, she does a lot of stuff behind the scenes to make sure that she is my CEO, CFO, COO, whatever conglomerate of letters you want to give at her. And I love her for it because she makes the wheels turn in the Gorman household, and it allows me to play a lot of softball, to do podcasts on Wednesday nights, to go and have a fantasy football draft last night. She makes the wheels run in our house, and I am forever indebted to her.
Love that. Professionally, I guess it would be Shawn Michaels, wrestler. Funniest thing, growing up, he was always my favorite wrestler, and then I started to learn his backstory a little bit, and he was a drug addict. He was an alcoholic, and he had the big thing happened where he had his. I don't think he overdosed, but he had a really bad run-in with his drugs, and ended up finding God and just completely flipped his life around. So for me, Shawn Michaels was always like an example of like, okay, so like your past doesn't define who you become. And obviously today he's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. He's one of the greatest performers of all time, one of the greatest characters to ever be on screen. But now also he's such a great dude. He lives his life for Christ. He lives his life for who he is. He's not afraid to speak about his faith and about his past, which I think is big because a lot of people will just be like, I'm not talking about my past. But yeah, I've always loved that about him. And I feel like I can take some of that because I've got a really bad past too, and I've got a lot of darkness back there. So like following him and like just seeing that it's possible.
Yeah. And
now he runs NXT. So it's awesome, man. Yeah, I've always looked up to Shawn Michaels. And personally, I'd have to say my wife too, man. Obviously my grandpa will get an honorable mention in that. But Carson was born 6 years ago yesterday, by the way. So happy birthday, Carson. When Carson was born, she was in labor for 22 hours.
Sheesh.
And so that one sucked for her. She obviously, one of our phones was just going crazy.
Fine.
She got an epidural and everything for that one. And obviously childbirth is terrible regardless. So for Ezra, she had the flu. She went the day before because she knew she was really sick and she wanted to make sure her and the baby were both okay. She went to the hospital. They looked at her and they're like, okay, you're both okay. Your heart rate's a little high. Just go home and get some rest. Well, she came home and her water broke. And we were living in Marietta at the time. So we had to come down to Panama City. So it was an hour drive home to Panama City. It was about 3 hours at home. And then it was an hour drive back down. We didn't really realize, like, because last time with Carson, her water broke and then it was 22 hours. It didn't occur to us that they'd never checked her to see if she was dilated or anything while we were there the previous day. I know I'm giving like the whole childbirth story here, but there's layers to this. This is why, like, this is how, like, basically I fell in love with this woman all over again. We just moseying down. We're not rushing to get to the hospital because she's not contracting. She's not having this baby right now. We drive down. We drop Carson off at my mom's. It's like 1 a.m. So we're like, okay, bud, we'll see you later. You know. So we go to the hospital, and they take us over to labor and delivery because that's where you go for everything. And we get up there, and they take me separately because they do the screenings. Like, do you feel safe with him with you? Blah 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 blah. So I'm in there pacing around. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And then they finally come and get me after like 30 minutes. And we go into the room and they check her and they're like, oh, you're having this baby.
I see the head.
And yeah, no, dude, he was like, when she's like, huh? And so I call her mom. I'm like, hey, it's 2 a.m. I'm like, hey, baby's coming. Might want to get here. And 15 minutes, bro.
Oh, my God.
15 minutes. Ezra was in the world. Pam didn't even make it to the hospital.
Sheesh.
So no epidural, no pain management with the flu, like, delivered Ezra.
Oh, my God.
And so that's, like, that shit's not easy, man. And you know it's painful.
I don't have a hat, but
Tip it. Tip your caps.
That's gone.
Tip your caps.
Lord.
So, yeah, there's that one.
Sheesh.
There goes my hero.
What do you enjoy spending money on?
Food. Good food. Honestly, experiences.
Yeah.
Any kind of experience. I love to go to games. I love to go to. I like to travel. Go to Disney. Obviously, I don't know if she's watching in there, but we're going to Disney in November. Digging for gold again. Might have to clip that. I think I got a gnat up my nose or something. Funny story. No, David Hayes got a gnat, like, flew into his throat in the middle of our game the other night, and so he was like, "The ball is on the," and I was like, "What the hell's going? The ball's on the 40. Here we go." I'm like, "What the hell just happened?" That was pretty crazy, but yeah. I mean, I would say experiences, because a lot of material items you're going to either lose or they're going to break over time or they're going to lose their value. But the things you do will never lose their value.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm like going to New Orleans here in a couple of weeks. I wish you could go. Golly, I wish you could go because it makes so much sense. No, I mean, coming back on a Monday is kind of what wrecks the whole plan.
Yeah. If it would have been this weekend, oh, yeah, I'm in. Well, actually, we're going on a trip. And our favorite rocket ship going through the sky.
Hey.
Little Einsteins.
So, yeah, man. Disney in November, New Orleans at the end of this month. I just love doing things.
Yeah. Mine falls, I'm going to get a little more specific because it's something that Michaela and I love to do, and it's an event. We love going putt-putt.
Yeah?
Love putt-putt. And there's the Pirate one down Thomas Drive, no free ads.
One of the only like 2 or 3 left now, right?
There's 3 down Thomas Drive because there's one Coconut Creek, the one with the maze.
No free ads.
There's one at the Cobra.
The Blacklight Golf.
The Cobra, no free ads. There's the Blacklight Golf one, and then there's also the Pirate one.
Which is way down on Front Beach near Sharky's. Or no, I know that Pirate one too. Yeah. So there's like 5.
Yeah, we really like the Pirate one closer to the closer to Ripley's and all that. And that's our favorite one because it's not easy, but it's not like, oh my God, this is how am I supposed to do this in 2 strokes? It's I got no kids, so I can't speak. So 28, no baby. So we really enjoy that one, and we love playing putt putt. So that's something we really enjoy doing. And if we go on vacation, like we went to Gatlinburg a couple years ago, and we were just riding down the strip finding something to do. And we were like, "Oh, putt putt, let's go." We did it at like 3 or 4 different places in Gatlinburg, just killing hours, just having fun, just the 2 of us, just playing putt putt.
Putt putt is underrated.
Yes.
And I can't wait until now. Carson's probably old enough now. I can't wait until Ezra's old enough for us to be able to do the putt putt trips where we're either not trying to eat the ball or get into the water. Or you should have seen him. Yeah, Ezra's a water baby. I don't want to take him near water. All right, so in the spirit of trying to move this episode along, not necessarily rushing, just trying to keep it about an hour today.
Okay.
Or less.
Yeah,
just
we got started a little later, figuring things out.
Yeah, which we haven't figured out.
Unfortunately.
Which is great for us. We're going to go to the AFC today. We're doing our NFL breakdowns. We've got this week and next week, and then the season will actually kick off next Thursday, the day after our episode next Wednesday. So, first of all, excitement for the season. Where are you sitting?
Oh, I'm ecstatic because I haven't felt this much anticipation in a couple years. Because, yeah, last year was the first year under Derek Carr. So, yeah, there was some build up to it. But we pretty much had the same team. It was just insert Derek Carr. Now we have a brand new offensive coordinator. We have a brand new system for Derek Carr, who made he was previously in San Francisco. Clint Kubiak is now our offensive coordinator.
Gary's son, or
yeah, and he was able to be a part of the group that made Brock Purdy look like a freaking all-pro. Granted, he's proving that he's actually that good, right. But Derek Carr, strike and don't strike me dead. But some people may disagree, but I think he's a serviceable quarterback. I'm not going to say good, great, bad, terrible. Serviceable.
There's worse out there that have won more.
Yes, exactly.
Eli Manning's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Rex Grossman went to a Super Bowl.
Right.
And on that same thought line, you look at that defense, adding in Chase Young with Cameron Jordan, defensive line should be pretty good. Linebackers, then you've got Demario Davis. And Demario Davis, I don't know how he has not aged out of being one of the best linebackers in the league, because he's done it for like the past 5 years, 6 years running. Then in the back end, you still have Marshawn Lattimore, Paulson Adebo, just drafted Kool-Aid McKinstry, still have Tyrann Mathieu. Like, at the end of the day, we have a really good defense and a really good players at all 3 levels. All pro potential players at all 3 levels. Then all the offense has to do is score 20-plus points. And that should be fairly doable with a serviceable Derek Carr. You still have Kamara in the backfield. You still have Olave out there. Still deep ball Rashid Shaheed. I'm excited. And with the wide open NFC South, I know the Falcons won it last year and they looked pretty good coming to end the year.
Bucks. That's where I went.
I'm thinking Baker Mayfield in my head and said Falcons. Now you add in the Falcons with Captain Kirk, their whole onslaught of defensive players that they've retooled everything. It's going to be, and add in Raheem Morris, a whole new defensive scheme. It's going to be a crazy NFC South. But there's a lot of unknowns, and I'm excited for it.
I'm in the same boat, man. I think Miami offensively is they just are what they are. Still don't have a solidified wide receiver 3. I think Braxton Berrios will probably get a majority of the totes there, and I think Berrios is an incredible player. I just don't think Miami he's essentially Tyreek, but they don't really use him like Tyreek. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they would use him like they use Tyreek, obviously not saying that Braxton Berrios is as talented as Tyreek Hill, because we all know that's asinine. That's ridiculous. But Berrios has the same potential, like short yardage, and he could turn it into a lot more. But I don't think they're going to use him like that. They haven't. So probably not. He's probably not the guy. Obviously, they signed Odell Beckham Jr. He's got to start the season on the PUP list.
What's new?
Yeah, I know. And, there's rumblings that he's not even going to suit up for the Dolphins this year. So,
Already?
Yeah. When they signed him, I'm like, why? Because, like, obviously, if this was, like, even 2 or 3 years ago, like, when he signed with the Rams before he got hurt and everything, I'm like, I'd have been like, okay, well, cool. But now it's like, I don't know, dude. I don't know if he adds anything to the locker room. I don't know if he adds anything to the offense when he's healthy just because of his age. Maybe this is strategy. Maybe they're just trying to keep him healthy until the back half of the season because he hasn't been able to stay healthy long term. So maybe they're playing chess, not checkers. I know that the Dolphins' schedule is not easy at the beginning of the season. So I don't know if that's wise or not. Now, defensively, Miami kind of struggled last year on defense, and this year they went and they addressed those needs. Obviously, they lost Christian Wilkins to the Raiders. We were never going to give him. He got $28 million a year from the Raiders. It's just not going to happen in Miami for a defensive tackle. But they went out and signed Deshaun Hand from Tennessee. They signed Calais Campbell as well to come in and fill that role. On the defensive line, they've still got Zach Sealer. I'm really confident in him. Jalen Phillips is going to be ready for week 1, which is awesome because that dude was on a tear last season before he got hurt. And the linebackers, man, they lost a couple of guys, but they brought in Jordan Brooks from Seattle. They brought in Emmanuel Ogbah came back. They drafted Chop Robinson. They brought in Anthony Walker from Cleveland. They had brought in Shaquille Barrett, but then he retired before they even got to training camp. So, and in the secondary, they only had Jalen Ramsey last year, and that was after the first 5 games of the season. But now Ramsey's back. Kendall Fuller they signed from the Commanders. Almost said the R word. Jordan Poyer they brought in from Buffalo. Yep. They brought in Marcus May from New Orleans. They've got Elijah Campbell still. They drafted Patrick McMorris. They still got Javon Holland. They've got Kader Kohu in the slot. I'm telling you, man, I feel like the Dolphins defense has the potential to be a top 7 or 8 defense in the league this year.
And that's the weak point, because with McDaniel running the helm, I don't care who you have out on the sides. You could have me and you as receivers. I think McDaniel would still be able to scheme up a way for us to get open.
We're going to get the ball.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like that.
It's crazy because somehow, some way, he's scheming up ways for Tyreek Hill to be wide open. And everyone in the whole stadium knows Tyreek's getting the ball on this down. How is he wide open?
Right.
And I like the going off topic a little bit, talking about Mike McDaniel. I like his new look.
Yeah, he looks like a Coke dealer in South Beach, bro.
He looks like he's buying into Miami.
I think sometimes he outthinks himself, which is hilarious because I've had this conversation where Mike Norvell, David Bell, and Mike McDaniel, the 3 teams I root for, they all have analytical head coaches who sometimes tend to outthink themselves.
Yeah.
And it really is scary at times.
I wish I knew what Dennis Allen was thinking.
Yeah, sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's great, and then sometimes you're like, I don't know, man. Maybe you don't have to tinker all the time.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy we're sticking with Derek Carr because with as we've said on Right On Sports Show, don't know if it's been said yet on this show, but with defensive-minded coaches, you need a strong-minded quarterback.
Yep.
You can't have a rookie quarterback because so there was rumblings that we were shopping Derek Carr to after J.J. McCarthy went out. He might have gone to the Vikings, but at the end of the day, that would have opened up the door for Spencer Rattler, which I'm all for. But in the same breath, I don't know if Dennis Allen is the guy to guy. I know he's running it as a CEO, but as a defensive-minded head coach, you're kind of like, okay, leave it to Kubiak. He's going to figure it out. Leave it to Clint. He'll figure it out. But at the end of the day, you need a guy who's there to help out and mold your franchise quarterback if that's who you're going to go with.
Right.
So I'm happy that they stuck with Derek Carr and are rolling the dice with him this year, because it gives me excitement because, like I said, he's serviceable. I think he's good enough to win us games. I think he's good enough to take us to the playoffs. But I think to put us over the top, it's going to be that defense and the running game from Jamal Williams and Alvin Kamara.
Kamara's got to be better this year too.
Oh, dude. He hasn't been good since 2 years ago. He hasn't been Kamara-esque.
He doesn't have to be a 1,000-yard rusher just because of Jamal Williams, and I think he'll be a bigger part of the offense this year, but he has to be better.
Yeah, he has to be. He has to get back to the shiftiness of what made him Kamara.
But also, Derek Carr never really been good at finding that guy out of the backfield.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe they just need to draw up better plays.
And that's where Pete Carmichael was the offensive coordinator beforehand. He had been there since the Breeze, Sean Payton days, and he had worked his way from a quality offensive quality coach to a quarterbacks coach to the offensive coordinator position under Sean Payton. Which under Sean Payton, if you're the offensive coordinator, you're kind of just standing there holding the book and like, what do you want to do, Sean? But the last 2 years, the last year under Payton and every year under Dennis Allen, I think it was like 4 years total, he had been calling the plays. And every single year towards the end of the year, Saints fans have been calling for his neck all year long. Like, hey, why are we running this? What's going on? This could be differently. This could be held differently. You got to do this different. So like I said, I'm excited. We've got a new system. It's more of the West Coast style, that outside rush game, which I think suits Alvin Kamara a whole lot, because if he can have just a smidge of what CMC's able to do, believe me, dude, I will be standing up on this table, raising your freaking roof, going, yes, let's go. I finally have Kamara back, but I didn't draft him in fantasy.
Smart move. Smart move nowadays.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into picking our division winners. AFC West, we'll start there. You got the Chiefs.
That's the easy one.
I mean, who's all in that? The Chiefs, the Chargers,
Raiders, Chargers, and Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, the Broncos are in a full-blown rebuild. They'll probably have a top 2 or 3 pick in the draft.
Don't believe in Knicks?
No. I mean, I think he'll be a decent pro quarterback, but I don't know what – they don't have anything else there.
Man left Auburn, couldn't cut it in the SEC, went to the Pac-12, looked like God himself, and then went to the NFL, and now he's beating out Zach Wilson and
Zach Wilson.
What's his name?
Remember when Dan Gonzalez tried to tell us that Zach Wilson was a good pro quarterback?
Speaking of Dan Gonzalez, I was going back over my YouTube, my Facebook, no free ads, memories.
Fuck you, Facebook tonight. Jeez.
And it was 1 year ago, you released the Know It All podcast talking about the LSU Florida State game, and I had shared it, and you were like, "Oh yeah, Dan, you get a mention in this," and he goes, "Oh, I got to go listen to it." And he comes back and says, "Fuck you, Drew." Because we were talking about how whenever we brought him on for stuff like this, he was talking, oh, yeah, we were doing an AFC East, and he was talking about the Jets. And it was for 30 minutes. He was, oh, yeah, our third string, he could start on like 4 or 5 different teams. Like, no, the heck he couldn't.
And then the Jets won like 5 games that year.
Yeah.
No, shout out to Dan, my co-host on Know It All. Dan knows Florida State football, but Dan does not know the NFL. Love you, Danny. All right. Are we both picking the Chiefs? And
yes.
That's a no-brainer, right?
Yes.
All right. AFC North, Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, and Browns.
I'm going to go with the Bengals. I think they put it all together. I think this is going to be a prove-it year for Jamar Chase because he's wanting to get paid. a comeback revenge tour for last time I said those words, it didn't go over well, but I think it's comeback season for Joe Burrow, letting my bias get to me a little bit, but I think they're gonna be able to edge out the Ravens by a game. It's gonna be real close.
I have the Ravens winning the division. I just think they're a better suited team to do that right now. I don't think the Bengals really did enough. And now they've got the contract disputes going on. Jamar Chase, which, by the way, if you're going into the final year of your contract, that's when you do the stuff you're doing. But in my opinion, at least, Jamar Chase has no business doing
this is also true.
He has no business doing this right now. He's been obviously, we know how good Jamar Chase is, but he hasn't had a good season since 2021.
Yeah.
Since his rookie season. He hasn't had a great season, I'll say. Like, you need to go out and prove that you deserve to be paid like Jefferson and like CeeDee Lamb, because you have proven right now that you deserve to get paid like Jalen Waddle. So
I see that side of it too. I can be a little. I want to see him get paid. First and foremost, I love it when guys get paid, but the fact that he's 2 years out from the final year, it's like, what are you doing, bro?
Well, and the Bengals are already they're a team that doesn't have a ton of money. They've already been handicapped by Burrow's contract because he's been unavailable for a good portion of it.
The last time they gave big money to a receiver was Chad Johnson, I think.
Oh, Joe Cinco. I just it's going to handicap the franchise even more. They've got Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard both kind of whining to get out of there or get deals as well. So if you're going to put all your money into 4 players, how are you going to be able to? I mean, you got to have weapons. Everybody knows that, but I mean, there's
it kind of get into a couple of years ago what the Dolphins look like.
Yeah, I mean, how many big time receivers went in the first round of this year's draft? Right. So that if I'm the Bengals, I'm looking at that like, okay, well, here's our offer, because obviously we'd like to keep the sure thing, but I'm looking at these drafts and I'm looking at
what happens first. Joe Burrow goes to the front office and says, "Hey, let's get this done. I need my receiver." Or does he go to Jamar and say, "Hey, well, just come back. Let's run it one more time. Let's figure it out. Figure out the books later. We'll be fine. I need you on the field."
I believe either one of those will happen. Like, not neither. I believe that, like, because usually be like neither is going to happen, but either, just because the relationship goes all the way back to college. But I think he's probably more likely to go to the front office and get Chase paid. And I'm not saying that Chase shouldn't be paid. I just think that if I was the Bengals, I'd be like, why the hell are you doing this right now? We've got other things to worry about. We've got our quarterback coming back from a serious knee injury. We should be putting our money into protecting him, keeping him up.
But that also goes back to that draft. They went and got Chase instead of Penei Sewell.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
That's the
all-pro offensive lineman.
Exactly. That's the big conundrum.
I mean, but again, it's not a bad pick. It's just not what you needed.
Yeah.
And then this year they take the big dude from Georgia in the first round, the big Mims, and he's out for like the first half of the season. Like, you can't draft somebody on their size alone. But that right there, those reasons, instead of giving you reasons I believe in the Ravens, I just gave you a bunch of reasons I don't believe in the Bengals. I do have the Bengals taking a wild card spot just because there's too much talent on that team not to. Yeah. But it is the final spot.
The only thing that took me away from the Ravens was adding Derrick Henry. You might chuckle, but it scares me for Derrick Henry that he is there, because in recent memory, if you are a running back and you suit up for the Baltimore Ravens, you do not make it past week 6.
You know who the running back coach for the Baltimore Ravens is?
Jamal Lewis?
Why don't you ask Google or ask Siri who's the running back coach?
Don't tell me it's Ray Rice.
I want you to do this live on the air. Bring her up.
Hey Siri, who is the running back coach for the Baltimore Ravens? Willie Taggart? Are you kidding me?
So,
are you kidding me?
So,
he's been 2 years of experience.
The curse is over, Drew. The curse is over. Because we're going to do something in Baltimore this year, baby. All right, AFC South. I'm taking the Jags here. I think they're due for a bounce-back season. I like Brian Thomas Jr. over there with Trevor Lawrence. They also brought in Gabe Davis. They still got Evan Ingram. They've still got Etienne. I think they're a pretty decent team, man. They signed Ronald Darby in the secondary. They drafted Jerryon Jones to play the slot corner. Their defensive line is a little shaky, but they've still got what did he change his damn name to? The Josh
Allen Hines.
Josh Allen Hines, yeah. So they've got that guy.
That guy.
Still. I like the Jags in the South, man. I think last year was a fluke.
I don't trust the Jags. And it's purely based off Trevor Lawrence. Because he was so highly touted coming out of college. He was going to be the next Peyton Manning. And granted, his first year was under Urban Meyer, so I'll give him a pass on that one. But after that, it was like he was mediocre at best.
Right.
And he's got so many weapons. They've put so much money into keeping him upright and giving him weapons. And he's not been able to do anything with it. So I shy away from the Jags. So I'm going to go with the Houston Texans. And I think they've got way too much talent on that roster. You're going to have healthy receivers. You add in Stephon Diggs, another year for CJ Stroud to figure things out. That is one of the few cases where a defensive-minded head coach and a rookie quarterback played perfectly. But I think DeMeco Ryans was a different style head coach, a different style authoritarian. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Probably not. But I think he molded that place kind of after Saban. The environment was modeled after what Saban did at Alabama. And I think the players were so young, they were used to that style, and they just bought in. And I think that's what made Houston such a juggernaut last year. So I'm excited to see what they can do, add in Stephon Diggs. The only question that I have for them is how much of a cancer is Stephon gonna cause?
Right.
But like I said, DeMeco Ryans as the head coach, he is so much more of he's going to come down hard on Stephon Diggs if he starts acting out, unlike Sean McDermott would have. I think he will draw the line and say, okay, you want to act like this? All right, suspended.
Yeah.
And he has the roster to be able to afford losing him.
Still got Nico Collins. Still got Tank Dell, right?
Nico, Tank, like you've got receivers galore. And then, but I think he was overstayed his welcome in Buffalo with some of the antics. And then I think Sean McDermott was, I wouldn't say scared of him, but they were scared to discipline him in case he decided to walk. And I think this year they were just like, okay, we're done. We'll reload with Keon Coleman and we'll go from there.
I also want to make sure that people know that the Texans brought in Joe Mixon as well.
Yes.
And that was kind of one of their only problems last year was running the football. They still have a good defense. They brought in some good defensive players as well. I can't remember names off the top of my head, but they made a couple good signings there too. But I think it's going to be more about the Jags and less about the Texans. AFC East. This is the first time in a long time. I don't think I've ever said this out loud because I don't say this about my teams very often. I think Miami has I think they're going to win the AFC East. I think they're going to be good enough to be better than the Chiefs this year. I think that Miami has a shot to be the number one seed in the AFC this year. And I've never said these words out loud, but I think Miami is a true Super Bowl contender for the first time going into this season.
Wow.
So you've never heard me say that. Like
No.
Everybody else has said it the last couple of years. This is the first time I really feel like I think what I'm looking at with Miami. Now, could they go 9-8, 8-9, and fall on their face? Absolutely, because there are some older pieces on this team that a couple injuries away from. But the secondary's too deep. The feels like the linebackers and defensive line are too deep. Bradley Chubb's going to be back in week 5 or 6. Forgot about Bradley Chubb earlier when we were talking about all those guys. Like, he's going to be back.
Yeah.
So I really feel like Miami has a damn good shot this year.
I'm going to go with the New England Patriots.
Well, see you next week.
No, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to come back, and I think he's going to be able to put it all together to be able to win the AFC East. I don't think it's going to be by 5, 6, 7 games like the Patriots run they had a few years ago, but I do think he's going to be able to put forth the efforts to beat the Dolphins in the AFC East. And I think that's more about what the Jets are going to be able to do offensively this year, because they still have guys on that
Stacked.
on that roster. Their defense was still great last year, and they were on the field 90% of the time because they couldn't do anything on the offensive side of the ball. Now you add in another year for Breece Hall. You've got still Garrett Wilson. And then you add in Aaron Rodgers, who's old enough to be everyone's dad. I think he's still a really good quarterback in this league. As much as we all love to hate on him, I think he's got everything figured out. And what did he do all offseason? Well, other than ayahuasca and all that. But he
meditated.
He was figuring out that offense, and he learned that offense down to a T. I think the Jets have a really good shot at. I don't know how far they go in the playoffs, but I think they win the AFC East.
Fair enough. I have the Jets as the first wild card team. I don't think the Dolphins win the division by that much. I think the Jets are right there. Like, if the Dolphins go 12-5, the Jets are 11-6.
My wild card 1 is going to be the Ravens.
Okay. Wild card 2. This is where I have the Houston Texans.
This is where I have the Dolphins.
Okay. And wild card 3, I have the Bengals.
Wild card 3, I'm going to throw a dart at the wall and say the Tennessee Titans.
I like that.
Because I really like I like their pickups. They were able to get Tyler Boyd. He is probably one of the most underrated. He is one of the most, I won't even say probably. He is one of the most underrated wide receivers in the NFL right now.
Calvin Ridley.
Because, got Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears.
Yeah.
It all relies
on... Will Levis is going to sling that thing.
Yeah, it all relies on what Will Levis is able to do. And if he's able to put together a decent year, Titans make the... they've retooled that defense. If he's able to just be decent, they are able to reach the playoffs.
Type in Will Levis long on Google with your safe search off. That's what I think Will Levis can do. It's interesting here is we both have the Bills missing the playoffs. I think there's a good possibility of that, man. I could also see the Bills winning the AFC East just because Josh Allen he gets a lot of disrespect and a lot of hate, but I still think the dude's a top 3 or 4 quarterback in the NFL.
For me, it comes down to turning the ball over. And he's been arguably not even arguably, him and Dak Prescott have been the guys who have turned the ball over the most over the past couple of years. And it's in not just, first drive, third drive of the game, I threw a pick. No, it's the last drive, driving down with 2 minutes left in the quarter or 2 minutes left in the game, and I threw a pick or fumbled the ball. It's big turnovers.
Well, and dude, they still don't have a running back. With Diggs and Gabe Davis gone, they drafted Keon Coleman, which Keon has he has every tool that's necessary to be a wide receiver 1 in the NFL. But will he be, right? Because if he's going to be the only guy, then Buffalo, you just do everything you can to cover him, and then Buffalo has nowhere to go with the ball. They have no running backs. They have no receivers. Dalton Kincaid has potential. Dawson Knox, I think, he has potential still. They're missing Von Miller for the first 2 games. They're missing Matt Milano. They lost. They still have Michael White, but they lost Tre'Davious White.
Yeah.
They lost Jordan Poyer.
They lost a lot.
They've lost their identity, I think, man. And
I think their window is like it's here, whereas last year it felt more like it was here, and then the year before it was here.
yeah,
So I think it's
damn near shut.
yes, especially with the rise of the Dolphins, Aaron Rodgers' rise with the Jets, and I'm not even gonna talk about the other team because their window went here and
Put it like this: there's a reason I said that the Broncos will be picking second or third.
Yeah, because the Panthers will be at 1.
Panthers will be second or third. The other team at 2 or 3.
The
All
other
right.
one named P.
All right, so we're gonna make some college football picks. Our first picks of the season, going into officially week 1. Florida State is 0-1, of course, but we're officially going into week 1. Week 0 is still the dumbest thing I've ever seen. More so now that my team has played in it and lost. But why week 0? Why? Who needs that?
Week 0 and 1. That's all I'll say.
What's the point? Ah, that's funny. But what's the point of week 0?
I don't understand it. It's so the numbers later in the season make sense. I guess I don't know.
I don't know. Let me get this out.
It's never made sense. But hey, it's the NCAA. At the end of the day, is it supposed to make sense?
No, it only makes dollars. Only what makes dollars makes sense.
Exactly.
All right, so we'll take turns kind of trading back and forth here. So, all right, North Dakota State at Colorado. This game is tomorrow night. Picking against the spread here because they have Colorado -10. Now, North Dakota State is the FCS powerhouse.
Yes.
And Colorado underperformed a lot of expectations last year.
I'm gonna still stick with Colorado. Ball games at Deion's house, and this is gonna be his statement time. Last year he tried to run things how he very boastful. This year he's taken more of a I say it laughingly and with quotation marks, he's taking more of a low key aspect to low key approach to this year and trying to figure things out from to how to not be all in the media's face at all times. So I like that approach from him because I think he finally realized like, hey, I got to prove it before I can just be out here. Oh yeah, we're going to win every single game, blah, blah, blah. Like you got to prove it. You got to prove it to be that guy. So I think this is going to be a statement from Colorado and from Deion this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to echo it. I do think they cover as well. I'm going to take Colorado at the house. I just think the talent's going to take over. The best FCS team versus one of the worst FBS teams. I still feel like FBS has a little more on the table. All right, I'll go first on this one. We got UNC at Minnesota. Mac Brown versus PJ Fleck here. I'm gonna go UNC on the road to get this win.
If this was later in the year, I'd go Minnesota, but I'm going to also go with UNC. I think Mac Brown's been around too long to fall to Minnesota's tricks. I think UNC is going to have a decent year, but it's going to be tough replacing Drake May from last year. So, but I think UNC is going to be just fine.
All right, Wyoming at Arizona State.
I'm gonna go with the Arizona State, and just based off being at the house.
Shout out Jaden Daniels. Maybe Brandon Ayuk coming over there soon to reunite.
Dog, that would make too much sense, and I don't know if why would you trade away
Jahan Dotson?
Why would you trade away Jahan Dotson in the division if you're not gonna do something like that?
Right.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, and I really, for the Eagles, makes no sense getting Jahan Dotson.
Well, yes and no. I like it for the Eagles because it takes a little bit of pressure off of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith.
Because God forbid A.J. Brown has pressure on him.
Yeah, adds another weapon to that team. like they needed it with Saquon being added as well. But I like it, and it allows him to play. You can match up A.J. Brown in the slot and still have a really good Jahan Dotson or Devontae Smith on the outside, and match up A.J. Brown against slot corners, notably smaller, linebackers, notably slower, safeties, notably smaller.
Well, shout out Johnny Wilson in Arizona State. Kenny Dillingham, the head coach over there, by the way. So on Arizona State as well. All right, UCLA at Hawaii. This one's fun. Did Hawaii already played, right? They played
Yes.
Delaware State last week.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure they beat Delaware State, if I'm not mistaken. I'll let you pull that up before I make this pick. Good chance while I'm in New Orleans, probably driving up to Baton Rouge on Saturday to go watch UCLA at LSU.
35-14.
So Hawaii got the dub there. I'm going to take Hawaii to get the win at home here. I think that's a long way to travel for UCLA, and Hawaii already has a game under their belt. So,
I think it says a lot to be able to have the game under your belt. Speaking from experience from last year when LSU played Florida State had that
2 years ago, but yeah.
2 years ago, that warm-up game, and you guys came into it pretty rolling on all cylinders because you had guys that had seen game situations at that point, and LSU was supposed to have that all figured out by that
Week
point.
0
but,
again. It's such a dumb thing.
But it worked out for you in that point.
It
So
did, yeah.
I think UCLA is going to keep it close. I think UCLA's got a shot at winning this, but I'm going to take Hawaii.
All right. Let you go first here. TCU at Stanford. So remember, I was like, when I was looking through the schedule, I'm like, if I wasn't watching those big three games, like if I have a second TV, dude, like UNC Minnesota, that'd be a fun game to watch as a college football fan. And I think TCU Stanford, kind of the same story.
Yeah, that's one of those, like, Stanford's now in the ACC, right?
Yeah.
That's just laughable.
It's hilarious.
That I don't even understand it. I'm gonna go with TCU. I just think they have too much firepower on the offensive side, and I don't know what Stanford's gonna actually bring to the table here.
I'm picking Stanford at the house. Kind of a chance to make a statement that they belong in a better conference. So that's all I got for you. I don't know.
ACC's better than Pac-12.
I think Sonny Dykes is obviously a good coach. He's gotten TCU to the national championship game once, but I think that was probably it for Stanford for a while. All right, number 8, Penn State at West Virginia. Penn State only being given 8 points here, so not picking against the spread. I'm going to pick West Virginia straight up.
Wow. Okay. West Virginia at the house, huh?
Yep.
I'm going to roll with Penn State. If there's a year to figure things out, I do this every year. Penn State's going to be real good. Penn State's ranked really high. Come on, let's figure it out. I'm going to stick with Penn State. It burns me in the end every time, but I'm a glutton for punishment, I guess. So let's move on to Notre Dame at Texas A&M. Number 7, Notre Dame. Number 20, Texas A&M.
Make your pick.
That is going to be – I want to let my – I'm going to do it. I always pick Notre Dame because I think they're going to be good, but I'm going to go with Texas A&M at the house, which is – I think that says more about my non-faith in Notre Dame than it is in my faith in Texas A&M. But also, I know how hard of a place going into Texas A&M and beating the 12th man. That's a tough place to play.
It's going to be a night game. They're going to be fired up all day because College Game Day is there. I think Notre Dame just has more talent right now. I do think Brian Elko will be phenomenal for Texas A&M. The storyline here is Brian Elko versus Riley Leonard. I heard AG say it today on the Afternoon Underdogs, where there's a good shot that he's going to be like being able to sniff out anything that Riley Leonard wants to do.
and giving tips to the defense. So that is the only edge that Texas A&M has, though. I think from a talent standpoint, Notre Dame is just a little bit better. All right, we're going to our games now. I'm not picking Florida State's game. You're not picking LSU's games. We've kind of, I think we agreed to that. It's kind of senseless for us. We take 2 losses if our team loses. It kind of sucks. But here's what I want you to do here. I want you, number 23 USC versus number 13 LSU. I want you to convince me to pick LSU here.
So, like I said last week, we've brought in people to coach up the players and brought in players from the transfer portal that help us in ways that hurt us last year. Defensive secondary, we got arguably the best defensive backs coach that was on the market. Now he's at LSU. We got arguably the best defensive line coach. Now he's at LSU. That was on the market. They are retraining, changing the minds of the defensive guys that are there. You reload at wide receiver, flip into the offensive side of the ball. Kyron Lacey is now the number 1 guy. We've got a guy who is a tight end, Trey Green, freshman, 6'7", like 250 plus pounds. 6'7" freshman. Dude can jump out of the gym. I'm so excited to see him. Like they showed pictures of him standing next to other players, and it was just like, this guy's the freshman? What? He does not look like a freshman. I'll show you off air, but dude is a man.
Stacked.
And he's a tight end. So I'm excited to see what him and I can't think of our tight end's name right now. It's not Porter's kid.
Don't point at me. Huh?
Mason Thomas.
These are all new teams for me.
So, and then Garrett Nussmeier's been in the system for a couple years now. We saw what he was able to do in the SEC championship game whenever he came in for Jaden Daniels against Georgia. Played beautifully.
Played the bowl game, right?
Yeah, played the bowl game. It was and we ended up winning that game against Wisconsin. So I'm really excited for what LSU has in store, and it's year 3 for Brian Kelly. If you go back to his stops at D2 to Cincinnati to Notre Dame, year 3 was the year that he really explodes and actually puts that team, quote unquote, on the map. So I'm really excited for what for what LSU has in store for this year.
All right, I'm going to do it.
Mason Taylor, that's the name. Thank you, Jack. Couldn't remember it.
Son of Dolphins legend Jason
Taylor. That's why I was pointing at you.
Oh, that's why you were pointing at me.
Yeah,
okay.
Because I was like, it's your boy, and I couldn't. The only Dolphin I could think of was Joey Porter, and he was there. I don't know. He was only there for like what, 1 year?
Yeah,
like 4 games.
Joey Porter only famous for one big play in his career.
Yeah.
So
I don't.
Biggest play of his career.
I'm sorry.
Biggest plays ever though. All right.
Did I do a good job?
Yeah, I'll pick LSU.
And plus, at the end of the day, we're playing USC and Lincoln Riley. They're not going to play defense.
All right, now I'm going to try to convince you to pick Florida State minus 15.5. Honestly, bro, I can't convince you to pick them with the points, but I can tell you the talent's there. I don't think Norvell makes the same mistake twice. Boston College is built a lot like Georgia Tech, just not quite as good. Georgia Tech had the number 1 offense in the ACC last year and returned every single starter on the offensive side of the ball. So I don't think they push our offense around quite like Boston College did, or our defense around quite like Georgia Tech did. Here, I will give you 2 keys for FSU to win this game, and then I'll let you make your pick. The first key is DJ's not Jordan Travis, right? But DJ has a stronger arm than Jordan Travis, a much stronger arm. Some would say a better arm. So treat DJ less like Travis and more like Jameis. Let him sling it. Bro, you got to let him throw picks. Yeah. It's going to happen. You got to let him play ball. And The second one, you don't have Travis anymore, but you got 2 number 13s, one on each side of the ball that need to be more involved in the game. Jalen Lucas on the offensive side. Some say he's the fastest player in college football. He touched the ball like 4 times last week and had a big presence on the first drive and then was like not involved for the rest of the game. And on the defensive side, Sione Lalohia. You got to get that dude in rotation a little bit more on the defensive line.
Easy for you to say.
Not really. I'm still not convinced that that's how you say it. I thought it was Sione Lalohi, and then they just corrected me on another pod, Florida State pod last week. So I still have no idea. But I will say that I don't know if Florida State makes the same mistake twice. And if they do, there's
the saving grace for this week is you guys are back at Doak.
yeah, that's true too.
If this game's at Boston College, I'm scared for you. I'm scared for Florida State fans nationwide, Florida-wide, Panhandle-wide. Like, keep the extension cords away. I'm afraid. So, but being back at Doak, I think that bodes well. Kind of gets everybody back to quote unquote normal schedule. Gets everybody back to, okay, hey, we're staying at home. We're staying at home in the dorms. We're good. Let's play ball. Let's have some fun. Now starts the revenge tour that everybody's expecting from us.
I don't know who was expecting that. I mean, I'm just.
I know one person I can think of.
Florida State fans.
There was one guy who kept posting it all over. Revenge tour starts now. Revenge tour. Yeah.
Who?
Tuck.
God, he's so broken.
I just want to ask him, how does it feel to be on the opposite side of being 1-0 or 0-1 on this start? But all I could do, I can't say anything because, like you said, as you eloquently put at the very beginning of the show, anybody who played against you guys last year can't really say much, especially me for losing back-to-back 2 years in a row to you. I can't say much. So I had the most appropriate response. I'm sitting there. I was working up in Freeport, up in Defuniak at my old boss's house, and we're sitting there, and it was 2 minutes left, and we're working in a different room from where his TV was, so I had it on my phone, and I was like, "Hey, it's got about 2 minutes left, and Georgia Tech's driving. We got to go watch this." And he was like, "All right, let's go." So we go sit down. As it's all unfolding and happening, I just start laughing. I could not stop myself. I couldn't formulate a sentence. I just laughed. And that's exactly still right now, thinking back to that moment, I just laugh. And like you said, I can't say anything, so that's me responding. I can't do anything but laugh. And I have no leg to stand on. I just laugh. So, especially because LSU still has to play USC in a couple of days, and how the turntables have turned.
Honestly, who knows? First game of the year, they're both replacing quarterbacks, top 2 picks. Who knows?
I think LSU reloads better than USC reloads because
they have more money.
The last time USC had to reload from a quarterback, it took them 5 years to figure things out.
Who's a better coach? Lincoln Riley, right? I mean, on paper.
If you're looking X's and O's, Lincoln Riley. If you're looking CEO, Brian Kelly. Depends on what you want in a coach.
Boston College at Florida State minus 15.5.
Florida State.
Think they cover?
Yeah.
That's fucking stupid, Drew. All right. Number 14, Clemson versus number 1, Georgia. I'm adding to this because I looked and they have Georgia minus 14.5.
Oh my God.
So we're going to pick against the spread here because I think that makes this a lot more interesting. And I'm going to go ahead and lead off by I'm taking Clemson, bro.
Last time they played this, it was like 7-6.
It was 10-3.
Yeah.
Was the final because there was a pick 6 right at the very end thrown by DJ Uyunglele.
Fun facts with Kyle.
Fun facts with Kyle, right. No, dude, I just think I think Georgia's going to win, but I'm not sure if they losing Did they lose Lad McConkey? I think.
Yeah.
And they
he's
lost.
He's now the on. You go to ESPN.com. No free ads. He is the number one wide receiver on the Chargers depth chart.
Jesus. Okay. Well, they lost Lad McConkey. They lost Brock Bowers. I'm not sure what the Georgia offense is going to look like. Obviously, we know Carson Beck's going to be back. We know they brought in Trevor Etienne. So I expect them to be good, but Clemson didn't lose much. Clemson did not lose a lot of guys. So I think Clemson keeps it somewhat close.
Clemson didn't lose a lot of guys. They also didn't bring in a lot of guys.
No, but they're bringing back Phil Maffa.
14.5 is a lot.
It's just a lot. It is in Atlanta, which I don't know how Georgia keeps getting away with this.
It's kind of like what Florida did a couple years ago. They had what 10 games or 12 games, and only one time had to leave the state of Florida because they played Miami and Florida State.
Yeah, this year
they only left because they play at Jacksonville, and I think they only left the state of Florida one time. Like 2 or 3 years ago when they went to like A&M or something.
Still went 6-6.
It's like, what?
Still went 6-6.
But I'm going against my better judgment. I'm going to go with Georgia.
I mean, that's probably not a bad pick, Drew. I just wanted to.
The 14 and a half scares me, but I think I even picked, if I remember correctly, I picked Clemson to win the ACC.
I think you did.
So
I did.
I think this is
Let that be known, by the way. Let that be known. You
Hey,
stuck
I
up
had
for
your
me.
back.
You stuck up for me. I wasn't on here like flexing, saying Florida State was.
Nah.
In no way, never, ever.
I had your back.
I've had Clemson winning the ACC since the beginning.
Yeah, I think Georgia against my better judgment of the 14. I think it might end up being 17, but it's not going to be by too much. But I think this is Kirby's got them boys rolling, and I think he's got them to what Alabama was, and you can never count them out.
Hear that, Paul Feinbaum? You got you a new boyfriend. All right. Number 19, Miami at Florida. We're going to end it right here.
If this isn't the year for Miami, when is it?
Never.
Cam Ward, and I know this game is at Florida. I just don't see it from this Florida team. I think Miami goes in there and crushes dreams.
I have Miami as well. I'm with you. If this Miami team doesn't win the ACC or at least get to the ACC championship game, then they're never going to. They're just never going to. And I know Jordan Gibbs, for instance, like a lot of Miami fans, they're one of the worst fan bases in sports. But this is the first time in a long time that I've seen them. They agree. If we don't win this year, then we're not going to win. It's just then Miami's done. We're Nebraska, practically. We're Nebraska with money.
Yeah,
like, we're going to have good rosters, but we're never going to win. And that's for Florida State's sake, I hope Miami wins because we need Miami. College football needs Miami, Florida State, LSU, Alabama, Georgia, the powerhouses. College football needs them.
USC, Ohio State, Michigan.
They need them.
Penn State.
They've got to be good. And it's just a better sport when they are. I just, if this game was at night in the Swamp, I think there's a shot for an upset.
The only thing that would give me pause is this game is at home for Florida. And like I said 2 years ago when LSU beat Alabama, the only reason why LSU has a chance is because that game is at home. And what did we do? We shocked the world in overtime. Took overtime, but we had Alabama going nuts. Florida has to show up and show out for this to even be a
Did you
game
see what they?
in my mind.
So Florida told their fans to wear white to the game. And all the Florida fans are like, why? Because they're wearing all blue. Florida is. Well, Miami today it revealed that they're wearing all white uniforms, helmets, jerseys, pants, cleats, all white.
Oh,
And the caption on Twitter under the official Miami Hurricanes football page says, "Somebody said to wear all white," with the shrug emoji.
hey, I mean,
I love a good troll. I
Yeah.
love a good troll.
Miami's done one off
Still.
the field. Miami's gonna win on the field, and it's not gonna be close.
Still, I just don't think Florida has the talent. They might beat Florida State though. They might beat Florida State if that Florida State team from last Saturday shows up anymore. Then there are no guaranteed wins left on the schedule for FSU. I'll tell you, not even Memphis, Charleston Southern. There's none.
Florida School for the Blind.
Who knows? How's their quarterback?
Blind.
Is it Matt if it's like Matt Murdock, then Florida State's in trouble. All right. Next week we'll be back. We'll talk about our picks. Hopefully we'll be back on Facebook like God intended, and we can have some interaction live and talk to you guys. And this was fun today. It's always some of our best episodes that
Good to be back in football.
suck. Always our best episodes that just don't make it to the air.
Hey, I'm just happy it's on the air.
Well, you know
We're
what I mean.
here. We got 2 viewers.
We need to be pushing YouTube anyway. Maybe this is how we do it. Maybe this is how it happens.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Stay tuned and pay attention.
Yep. Big announcements coming down the pipe, guys. NFC next week. So Drew's
that,
time
baby.
to shine, baby.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see you then.